Hey, welcome to Wild Speculations. I'm Scott. Dan will probably be joining us maybe at some point in the stream. He had some things he had to take care of. So it's just me right now. But welcome. We're talking Tal'dorei Reborn today. We got the book. We both looked over it a little bit. Pretty nice book, has a few things in it. Feel free if there's anything you want to know specifically and we can look at that. But it starts out with talking about just the months and seasons, and then it goes into the moons, and then it goes into the planar stuff, which is really cool. And I think this might, Dan and I both think this might have to do with Campaign 3. So, because it talks about how, like, every 30, where is it? Sorry. But every so often, the Ruidus, because it has a once every 6 months cycle, so it has a full moon once every 6 months compared to the once a month that Katha has. It's like a normal moon. But during certain times that they it weakens the states between planes, and that's what we've talked about being a thing for the Campaign 3. Goes into that. And then it goes just kind of readdresses the history like it did in the first book, and then after that it goes into the gods again. It's pretty much the basic stuff at the most part. They did stop using names again because this isn't an official WotC book. And it just kind of goes through the different factions and governments. It does have, like, Nidarpok from the city they went to in Exandria Unlimited. So it's got that whole history that Abria Iyengar brought to us as official history of Exandria now in Tal'dorei. Does not have any racial stats for characters. And I think that's partly because of the Mordenkainen's Multiverse of Monster. Yeah, Rose, I agree. It was good to see that Abria's stuff was actually incorporated to the lore and everything. When it gets into the races and stuff, like I was saying, it doesn't have any stats blocks or anything, and I think that's because of Mordenkainen's Multiverse of Monsters and the new way they're doing races and the new way that they're getting ready for the rules update. So I think they kind of just left that blank and told you to refer to the 5e rules, since those things are in shift. It does have an interesting thing about mixed ancestries, and how, at least in an Exandria campaign, with your DM's permission, of course, you can mix races. Like if you wanted it to be, it's got a picture of a orc dwarf and an dragon blood elf, which basically you and your DM decide on a couple features from each of the two races, to give your character so that you can be half orc, half dwarf, or half dragonborn, half elf, or whatever, half gnome, half tabaxi. I thought that was an interesting addition, as far as just not really rules to do so, but just kind of permission. Because some people are like, it's not in a book, you can't do it. So they put in a book, hey, you can do this. And then it goes into a thing about hemocraft, which is the blood magic, like the blood hunters and the blood clerics that we've seen in Matt's games, especially prominent in Campaign 2 and Chetney in Campaign 3. And just about, if you wanted to be a warrior forge that practiced hemocraft, you could be talking about the engine fluids and whatnot, or the necromantic energies if you wanted to play the Dampier lineage. And then if they don't have blood, it talks about how undead and constructs don't have blood and are unaffected by hemocraft. Yeah. I've always wondered, because it's always like, I've been playing D&D for so long, Rose, and it's always been anything that was half something was half human. Like they were the only ones who could freely procreate with other races. But it's nice to see this, especially because it's like, I guess it's up to your DM what races are compatible, for Araku, Dan's world, all the draconic races, so kobolds, draconians, dragonborn, dragons, they're all the same species. Like a dragon could lay a set of eggs and it could be all kobolds, there could be some dragonborn, draconians, actual dragons, and same with the dragonborn could give birth to a full dragon and stuff. So he's kind of mixed it to where of the same type of species, so like Leonins and Tabaxis, if they were in his world, would probably be able to mix. But he doesn't really have anything that he's told us yet for like the elf dragon or the orc dwarf kind of thing. But it's interesting that Matt seems to be like, yeah, everything can mingle with everything. After it talks about the races, it goes into the new subclasses. There's 9 subclasses in the book. 5 of them are updates. The 4 from the original Tal'dorei book, plus the Path of the Open Sea Paladin, and then there's 4 new ones. We've got the Juggernaut Barbarian, which was in the original Tal'dorei. The College of Tragedy Bard, which is just like super emo bard, which is brand new. The Blood Domain Cleric, which is reprinted from the original Tal'dorei. The Moon Domain, which is brand new. The Blighted Druid, which is brand new. The Cobalt Soul Monk, the official new update that they finalized after Marisha played one. Like I said, the Open Sea Paladin, which some things got really nerfed and some things got really good with them. The Runechild Sorcerer, which is also from Tal'dorei, the original Tal'dorei book. And then the last new one is the Blood Magic Wizard. And then it reprints all of the backgrounds from the original Tal'dorei and adds the Whitestone Rifle Corps, because that didn't exist till after the end of Campaign 1. And then it's got a few feats, a couple new ones, mostly reprinted. It looks like 1, 2, 3. There's 5 reprinted from the original book, 1 Remarkable Recovery is basically the Mending Affinity re-flavored. Yes, the Blood Magic Wizard is actually... I really want to play one. It's interesting. If you guys want, we can look through. I can go into detail on any of these subclasses or backgrounds. Just let me know. And then he goes through some magic items, which some of them we've seen in the campaigns and some of them are brand new to the book. And then it reprints the Vestiges of Divergence. And in the first book, they gave the Sky Cell, which was a magic item for the Air Ashari, but now they've got one for each of the different element types for the Ashari. And then it goes into the Bestiary, which has a few things, few new, few reprinted, few things that we've seen in various campaigns. And then it gives us the stat blocks for all of Vox Machina in here, which they didn't have in the first one. It is about twice as thick as the original book. Give me 1 second. I'll show you. So this is the new book. This is the original. It's about twice as thick. So it does come with a little pocket in the front cover flap with a pull-out map of Tal'dorei, which is really nice because in the past they did a sticky on one and then they did one that was perforated. Hey guys. Yeah, it is, and mostly because the first book, the histories and stuff, ended right after the Coma Conclave, before Vecna, and this one brings us probably about another 25 to 30 years into the future because it catches us up to after the end of Campaign 2, sometime during, well, after Exandria Unlimited, so right up to the beginning of Campaign 3 is what this takes the continent of Tal'dorei to. So, yeah, no Blood Hunter class because of the DM's Guild stuff, and I think that's why we don't have like Ravenite Draconian or Ravenite Dragonborn anymore, because that's in a WotC book in the Wildmount Guide, and this is Darington Press, so it's not an official WotC book. Yep, it is completely updated to the beginning of Campaign 3. It does have a lot of stuff from Campaign 2 in it, like the Ketegeist, Joriel, the multi-armed woman assassin that was not a scion, but dual avatar for both Wolf and Osmodius. Got her stat block in there from Campaign 2. We got the one golem that would capture people with the anti-magic collar that they ran into in the Happy Fun Ball. So hear about the Bard and the Blood Mage. Okay, we can go through those. So the College of Tragedy Bard, it's got, let's see, at 3rd level you get Poetry and Misery and Sorrowful Fate, which basically these guys are just like I said, major emo goth people. So with Poetry and Misery, whenever you or an ally in 30 feet rolls a 1 on a d20 for an attack, ability check, or saving throw, you can use a reaction to soliloquize and regain 1 use of your bardic inspiration, which is cool. It's a way to, regain your bardic inspiration and just go with the 1. When you go with the 1 and just make a comment about it. With Sorrowful Fate, this one is really good. So it says, when you or an ally you can see forces a creature to make a saving throw, you can use expend 1 use of your bardic inspiration to change the type of saving throw to a charisma save instead. So sorcerer throws a fireball, and one of them has a good dex but bad charisma. You can be like, I'm changing their save to a charisma to avoid the damage. And then if they fail the save, that's now a charisma save, you get to roll your bardic inspiration die and add that much in psychic damage to the attack. You can do that once per short or long rest with this ability, but starting at 3rd level, that can be pretty powerful early game, forcing someone to roll a save they may not be good at and then adding a d6 of damage to it. That's really good at low levels. 6th level, you get Tale of Hubris, which says, when a creature scores a critical hit against you or an ally within 60 feet, you can use your reaction and spend 1 of your bardic inspiration to target the attacking creature and evoke the story of their downfall. For 1 minute until the target suffers a critical hit, any weapon attack against the target, any weapon attack, not just yours, crits on an 18 to 20. And then once you're 14th level, it becomes 17 to 20. So that's like, you hit me really hard, I'm going to triple the chance of my people hitting you really hard. And then you also get Impending Misfortune, which is, let's see, create a triumph. When you make an attack roll or saving throw, you can gain a +10 to the roll, but the next attack roll or saving throw you make takes a -10 penalty. You can use this feature again. You can't use this feature again until you finish a short or long rest, or until you're dropped to 0 hit points. So if you get dropped and the cleric brings you back up, you can use it again right away. And it's basically a trade-off. +10 to your attack roll, but then you take a -10 to a save or attack roll, or +10 to a save. That can really help you out on a save. And if you're not the main attacker, just fire a crossbow bolt in the air and, or if you get like the common magic item Clockwork Amulet, or something that can offset that. And then the really good one, the really fun one for me, is the Nimbus of Pathos, their capstone 14th level ability. Basically, you can touch a willing creature as an action and empower it with tragic heroism. For 1 minute, the creature is surrounded by mournful music and ghostly singing, granting it the following benefits and drawbacks. So there's 3 benefits and 2 drawbacks to this. So, first, they get a +4 to their AC. Second, they get an advantage on attack rolls and saving throws. And that's all attack rolls and saving throws get advantage. And when they are hit, when the creature hits a target with a weapon or spell attack, so anytime they attack, the target takes an extra 1d10 radiant damage. So those are the 3 advantages to it. The 2 drawbacks are any weapon attack against the creature who you perform this on, 18 to 20 crits them, so good chance they'll get crit, or a much better chance. And then when the effect ends, the creature immediately drops to 0 hit points and is dying. And you can use that once per long rest. So you're going to be kick-ass in this battle. You may get hurt a lot. Either way, you're dropping at the end of the battle. And, you know, just be ready with save a healing word right there at the end for when they drop. But that can be a lot of fun. So overall, and I don't know if you guys can see the picture well or not, but it's Goliath dressed up in Shakespearean type clothes holding a skull for their iconic tragedy bard. Doing the alas poor Yorick, I knew him well. So yeah, that looks like a really fun bard to me. I love bards. And then the Blood Magic Wizard. So they start out at 2nd level. They get the ability, so whenever they're below their hit point maximum, as long as they have at least 1 damage, they can use their body as an arcane focus. So you don't have to carry a staff or a crystal ball or a component pouch. You just have to prick your finger with a dagger, and bam, you're your own arcane focus. In addition, when casting a spell that requires a costly material component, you can forego the component by taking 1d10 necrotic damage per 50 gold of the cost of the component, minimum of 1d10, and this damage can't be reduced in any way. That is a super scary part of the ability that you get at 2nd level, because at 2nd level, I mean, if you have average, so like 10, 11 con, you have at most 12 hit points. So 1d10 damage is going to almost take you out of the picture right away. But higher up, when you have a little bit of hit points to play with, and you need that spell, and you don't have the money for the, you know, or can't find the material component because it's just not available where you're at, it can come in handy in a pinch. And then they also get Sanguine Burst. So whenever you roll damage for a spell you've cast a 1st level or higher, you can choose to take necrotic damage equal to the spell's level to reroll a number of the damage dice up to your intelligence modifier. So, don't give that. I have a feeling that this wizard subclass was either written for Taliesin or at least partially by Taliesin. Yeah, so if you 5th level or 5th level, you're casting Fireball. You roll really crappy. You can take 3 damage and reroll your dice up to your intelligence modifier. So it's a way to make sure you get a little bit higher damage out. Then at 6th level, you get Bond of Mutual Suffering. And this is where it starts. This subclass starts getting really good. When a creature you can see hits you with an attack, you can use your reaction to bind your vitality to the attacker and force them to share your pain. The attacker takes damage equal to the damage you took. So at 6th level, if you hit me, I can use your reaction. You take the same damage. Now you can only use this once per short or long rest, and it does not. It cannot be used against constructs or undead because they don't have blood. But as long as you're not in Ravenloft or a high steampunk game, that's pretty good. Then at, let's see, at 14th level, you can use it twice between rests, but at 6th level, once. Then you've got Glyph of Hemorrhaging. So starting at 10th level, when you damage a creature with a spell, you can choose to curse that creature for 1 minute. And there's no saving throw. This is just automatic to initiate the curse. Whenever the creature is hit by an attack, it takes an extra d6 of necrotic damage. So it's like an extra hunter's mark. But everybody that hits him gets the bonus damage. And then at the end of each of the creature's turns, you can make a con saving throw against your spell DC to end the creature. Again, this can't be used on constructs or undead, and it's per short or long rest. But, you know, it's pretty good, especially if you go right after that creature or you hold your action to go right after that creature. You hit them with that blood curse, and then your whole team goes through and gets the extra damage against them before they get a chance to save. And then at 14th level, you get Thicker Than Water, and basically your magically charged blood. Whenever a spell or magical effect causes you to regain hit points, you regain an additional number of hit points equal to your proficiency bonus. So it ups the healing on you. And then in addition, while you're concentrating on a spell, so as long as you have a concentration spell up, you gain resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non-magical weapons. So it really starts to increase your survivability. Really great. If I was going to play this class, which I really want to, in fact, my next character, when my current character dies, I want to do a blood magic wizard. But as a feat, you either take the Gift of the Metallic Dragons or Magic Initiate Cleric so that you can get healing, cure wounds. And the Metallic one is a little bit better because without errata and updating the Magic Initiate feat, you can only use Cure Wounds once with the Magic Initiate. Whereas Gift of the Metallic Dragons, you get it once for free, and then you can also use spell slots. And you get to choose, you can choose Intelligence with the Gift of the Metallic. So choose Intelligence to be the spellcasting modifier for it, and then you've got all your wizard spell slots that you can cure wounds yourself as you take the damage to use those early abilities. So in this one, the iconic is an Albino Tiefling. One thing Dan pointed out that he noticed is in the back with the Vox Machina stats, there is a portrait of the Rollo family, Percy and Vex's family. And Percy is holding hands with a young red-skinned tiefling girl. And Dan seems to think that is an Easter egg for a Campaign 4 character. So we shall see. If someone plays a little tiefling girl, that may be true. Tieflings. I think if she's not a player character, this little tiefling girl, she will be an NPC that they meet relatively quickly. But she may be. Subclass I was disappointed in. Not really. Some of them I found interesting. Some of them don't really do anything for me. Path of the Juggernaut Barbarian. It's okay for a Barbarian. I think there's better choices. It's got some good things. You can push people around without a saving throw, but the Blood Cleric, the only real difference, I like the Blood Cleric a lot. The only real difference is they flipped the 2nd and 6th level Channel Divinity features, so in the original book, the one you got at 6th level, you get at 2nd. The one you got at 2nd, you get at 6th. I think the Blighted Druid is probably the one I'm most disappointed in. It still might be fun, but it's just... It's not as much as I would have wanted. It's not as deep into that whole Blighted type. Basically, at 2nd level, you can create a 10-foot radius centered on a point within 60 feet of you that becomes corrupted land. And when any creature, including yourself, including your allies, if they're in the area the first time they take damage from an attack or spell, they take an extra 1d4 necrotic damage. You can move this area 30 feet as a bonus action, and that's really it. It's once per short or long rest. That, I don't know, wasn't what I expected, I guess. And then also you get Blighted Shape, and basically you just become a gnarled, bone-spiked version of whatever you turn into, and so you get a +2 AC to your whatever wild shape feature you have, and you gain dark vision 60 feet, or it increases the dark vision by 60 feet, which is kind of cool. You know, I kind of like that one, but it's like, eh. And then Call of the Shadow Seas at 6th level. You basically summon a blighted sapling, so you can so basically it happens when someone takes damage in your defiled ground, that original corruption ability. You can spring up a blighted sapling, and it's got the stats for that. So you can gain mini allies. And then Foul Conjuration. Any creature you conjure with a spell or anything, they gain immunity to necrotic and poison damage. And then when they're reduced to 0 hit points, they explode in basically poison. So yeah, just overall, it would just, I don't know what I was hoping for. It just seems very selective. It's probably not a druid subclass I would play. Yeah, it's an aesthetic. Yeah, there are other classes that could easily, druid subclasses that could easily be reflavored to be more. The Cobalt Soul, it's almost exactly what we expected. It's pretty much the last update he gave right before the end of Campaign 2. So, which I like the Cobalt Soul Monk. I've played one in the past. They're fun. The Oath of the Open Sea, I know Dan and I reviewed that a long time ago when Matt first released the original draft, when Ford became one. It didn't get... The two major changes is the marine layer actually got worse. If you remember, when Ford would cast it, he would create the fog cloud, and it would be heavily obscured for everybody except for him and his allies that were within 5 feet of him. And now it's heavily obscured for everyone, and for you and anyone within 5 feet of you, whether they're an ally or not, it becomes lightly obscured. So it's dim light, so it's disadvantage on perception checks. It's all that stuff of lightly obscured. So yeah, it got worse because you can't see clearly through it. However, their 7th level ability, when they get the aura, that became amazing. Because now, while you're not incapacitated, you and creatures of your choice within 10 feet of you cannot be grappled or restrained, and ignore penalties for movement and attacks while underwater. And then any creature that's already grappled or restrained when they enter can spend 5 feet of movement to automatically escape unless they are bound by magic restraints. So at 7th level, you can never be grappled or restrained, and none of your friends within 10 feet of you can. Or if one of your friends gets grappled, you just have to move within 10 feet of them, and then on their turn, they can use 5 feet of movement and get out without any issues, without a roll, without, the monster getting a check to keep you. So that is like super good, super powerful 7th level ability. Other than that, it's pretty much the same. They do have 2 new spells here that are domain spells for the Open Sea Paladin, and then it says they can be learned by druids, rangers, and sorcerers of the appropriate level. There's a 3rd level and a 5th level. So yeah, I'm mixed on the Open Sea Paladin. I think it's a very flavorful subclass. There's definitely Paladin subclasses that are much better if you go just mechanics, though. The Rune Child is largely untouched from the original. I think I haven't done an exact side-by-side comparison, but I have played one, and I'm pretty sure it's the only thing they added is they added, like in Tasha's, they had the table of spells where you get extra spells as a sorcerer. They added that to the Rune Child sorcerer, so they get the extra spells. So a little bit of a buff for them as well. Yeah, unless you're really wanting to play swashbuckling pirate, sailor type of guy, Sinbad. I mean, it's great for playing Sinbad, but unless that was my character concept, I probably wouldn't play that subclass. But to be fair, I'm not a huge fan of paladins anyway. That's probably my least favorite class, and the one I don't play unless to get out of my comfort zone, I let other people pick things, and they pick paladin for me. Which has happened twice, so I've played a paladin twice, including my current character is 6th level paladin, 2nd level sorcerer, so. One thing about the backgrounds in the first one, like when they gave you the backgrounds, they said, hey, use this from the player's handbook for your personality traits. And this one, each of the backgrounds, all the backgrounds are largely unchanged. But they added personality traits for the Ashari, for the class member, for the Lyceum Scholar, Reformed Cultist, things like that. The only one that really changed was the Recovered Cultist, which just their special ability changed. It went from you can find out if there's hidden cults in the area to whatever betrayer god or whatever evil cult you were a part of. You have advantage on any intelligence check to know knowledge, and the DM should give you knowledge that even most common followers of that cult wouldn't know, which I think is better. It's a little more grounded than just you're able to, it's not one of those, I don't know. The other one just felt like they didn't know what to do, and then this one, it's actually, you can investigate, the cult and stuff and get knowledge based on your cult, whatever cult you were in. And then the new one, the Whitestone Rifle Corps, actually pretty powerful because instead of usually a background gives you 2 of either tool or languages, tool proficiencies or languages, and this one gives you 1 language and proficiency in firearms. Not only that, but in the equipment you get either a musket or a pistol. It is as described in the DMG, but you get a free gun for picking this as your background. And that's also your features. You have the gun, but the gun indicates you're part of the Whitestone Rifle Corps, which it says they could see you as a hero, or they could see you as, a selfish asshole member of the, the man, the power, the government. So it can be a 2-way street for that. But I mean, if you're going to play someone with a gun, that's the easiest, cheapest way to get a gun. You get to choose 2 of athletics, perception, and survival, which are all really good skills. So yeah, that's actually, it's not Strixhaven background powerful, but it's up there as far as background, powerful backgrounds. Because anything else you guys wanted to know about in classes and backgrounds? Otherwise, I'm going to jump over and talk a little bit about feats. Yeah, that's true, Rose. That's, like I said, it's up there in power. It's not Strixhaven, where it gives you a feat, which gives you extra spells. But arguably, it does give you a 50 to 100 gold piece weapon right out the gate without expending any money. So I'm going to jump over to feats. There is only 7 feats, so I'm just going to go over each of them real quick. And whether I think it's an improvement or not from the original, if there is a copy in the original. Cruel, I think, got an improvement. Before, you got a number of points equal to your proficiency modifier, which you could get advantage or do this or that. I think it's more balanced as a feat now, because now instead of just points, you get D6s. And so instead of getting it, like one of them is you could get advantage on a charisma intimidation check in the original. Now you add the D6. which not quite as powerful because advantage is basically a +5, and the D6 can be anywhere from +1 to +6. But I think it works better. When you score a critical hit, you spend 1 cruelty die to gain temporary hit points equal to the roll. Before it was just you got your proficiency modifier in temporary hit points. So especially early game, that's way more powerful. And that's when a D6 of temporary hit points is more important. Late game, a D6, is nothing. Early game, D6 is pretty big. And then you can also spend 1 die to deal extra damage to the creature equal to the roll, which you could do before, and it was just a D6. So that kind of just stayed the same. And you do get all your dice pulled back at each long rest. So Cruel, I say overall, is essentially the same. I think they just made it better working mechanically wise. Flash Recall is great, completely unchanged. You just have to have a class that you prepare spells. So Cleric, Druid, Paladin, Wizard, not Bard, Sorcerer, Warlock, where you just have known spells. But basically, as a bonus action, you can prepare a spell of first level or higher and wipe out a spell you had prepare of equal or greater level. So going through the day, and you really need this spell that you didn't prepare because you just, in your planning stage, you didn't get the right, you took a spell that you thought would be helpful, but you haven't used it, and you really need this spell. You can swap those out. You do have to finish a short or long rest before you can use it again. But, I mean, that means you're probably going to be able to do it 2 or 3 times a day because you can do it on a short rest. So you can probably do it twice a day at least. If you take 2 short rests in the day, that's 3 times a day that you could potentially use it. And you don't have to. I mean, if you plan well, I mean, that's the thing about Wizards. You have to have the forethought and planning. And with this, it just gives you that cushion where if you miscalculated and need a different spell, you can switch out. Mystic Conflicts changed, and I think for the better. Mystic Conflicts is the one that allowed you to attune to up to 4 magic items at once, which is great, and that's the same. Originally, the other part of Mystic Conflict was you had advantage on Intelligence Arcana rolls to know about the history of a magic item, which is great, but you have to know it's a magic item. Now, you can cast Identify without expending a spell slot or material components, meaning you don't have to have the 100 GP Pearl to identify, but you must finish a long rest before you can do so again. So it's a way, without using Ritual Caster and taking 10 minutes, or if you don't have the item or the focus, that you can just quickly do an Identify and figure out a magic item. So, yeah, Flash Recall is great. Mystic Conflicts, I think, is good. Remarkable Recovery, like I said earlier, is a reflavoring of the Mending. The Mending gave you +1 to Constitution, gave you some different healing benefits. It's largely unchanged. So you still get +1 to your Constitution to a max of 20. That's the same. When you're successfully stabilized while dying, so whether that's a medicine check or spare the dying cantrip or whatever, just using a healer's kit, expend 1 use of a healer's kit, you regain hit points equal to your Constitution modifier, which can be more at early levels but less at higher levels because it used to be your proficiency modifier. So I like that because, again, like with Cruel, where it's more important to gain that bit of hit dice, it's going to be a higher number probably rather than your proficiency bonus. And then the one that changed before it was now it's regained hit points as a result of a spell, potion, or class feature, but not this feat, indicating that other feats it would work with. You regain additional hit points equal to your Constitution modifier. And before that, it was just a spell that would give you the extra hit points, and it was also the proficiency modifier. So now it's spell, potion, class feature, so second wind, the healer feat, because feats are technically class features because they're your ASI that you get at the class levels. You know, anything like that. Celestial Warlock's healing pool. Anytime any of those things heal you, you gain your Constitution modifier as well. Spell Driver, completely unchanged. Character level 11 or higher, and spellcasting or pact magic feature are the prerequisites. And basically, normally you can cast a spell and a cantrip in a turn, and that's it. If they're action and bonus action. With Spell Driver, you can do it to cast 2 spells of first level or higher, but only one can be high of them can be third level or higher. So you can do a first or second level spell and any spell you want. So instead of just a cantrip and a spell. So that one, like I said, completely unchanged from the original book. Throne Arms Master has not changed either. And I love this. If you're ever planning on, like, this is a great feat for a monk and just use daggers. So you increase your strength or dexterity score by 1. So depending on what you want to, you know, whether you're focusing on dex or strength. Simple and martial melee weapons without the thrown property get the thrown property. If it's one-handed, it gets 20-60 range. If it's two-handed, it gets 15-30. And then if the weapon already has the thrown property, their range is increased by 20-40. So like a dagger is 20-60, it becomes 40-100. So that's really good. And then when you miss with the thrown weapon attack using a light weapon, so I throw my dagger, it misses, it ricochets back into my hand, and I catch it without an action, you know, without any kind of action, bonus action, reaction. It just returns to my grasp like a boomerang. So I either stick the dagger in you, or it comes back to my hand and I can throw it again if I have the attacks for it. So that's great for anyone who's going to be using a thrown weapon or wants to throw their weapon. If you want to be a barbarian that hurls your great axe, you can now do it. So, yep. And then the last one is the brand new feat, Vital Sacrifice. It basically gives anybody a little bit of the blood magic. So Rose, you'll probably like this. Basically, as a bonus action, you can choose 1d6 necrotic damage. You take 1d6 and you gain a blood boon. The blood boon lasts for 1 hour or until expended. So this is something you can take a d6 of damage, heal yourself if you took one of those feats and got cure wounds or have a potion or whatever. And then for an hour until you use it, you gain a benefit. The benefits that you can choose, and you can choose each time you take it, so you can do multiple of these. When you make an attack roll, roll a d6 and add it to the total. When you hit with an attack, you can deal an additional 2d6 of necrotic damage. And it's just an attack, so if it's a spell attack or weapon attack. When you cause a creature to make a strength, dex, or con save, you roll a d4 and reduce their save by the amount rolled, so you make it harder. So this would be great for like a battle master who's going to be tripping or pushing people and they get that strength or dex save. You can reduce it through Hemocraft. And then at the end it just says it can't be reduced in any way, just like all the other abilities that drain you. But it doesn't say you can't heal from it right away through a spell or potion or something. So that battle sacrifice is very neat to me. I like the resource management of hit points and just like, rather it being a resource that I have no control over how it's spent or why it's spent. This gives me a little bit like, yeah, I'm going to gamble a little bit. I'm going to take a couple of hit points of damage and get a crazy bonus for it. A lot of the things that were in Campaign 2 and are in the magic items section. Yeah, it's a great way to just add that Hemocraft flavor, which, blood magic has always been a thing in D&D, although never or very rarely mechanically quantified, and in fantasy tropes too. So it's really nice to see that it's being fleshed out for game rules to play those type of characters. I agree. But we've got the Cataclysm bolts that Knot and Beth had. We've got the core cut dagger, the dagger of denial that they used to lock the guy out. Echo stones. The silver mirrors that allowed you to communicate across planes that Olori gave Jester, so that they could communicate with the Happy Fun Ball. Those are in here. Magician's Judge, Summer's Dance, the Tinkertop Bolt Blaster 1000. That one did change. So it's still a +1 crossbow. It's a hand crossbow +1 attack and damage. Still has the you roll a 20, you can immediately make another attack after resolving it. But now when you roll a 1, instead of you just automatically take the damage of the bolt, it's you must succeed a DC 14 dexterity save or take the damage from the bolt. So 1d6. So it's a little safer to use, because most people who are using hand crossbows have a decent dex, so 14 isn't a hard DC to beat, and then it doesn't do anything negative to you. Like Feth probably would have never taken damage from it if it had had that quality when she had it in the game. Anything else you guys want to know about before we pull this to a close for tonight? Overall, it's a fun book. It's a fun read if you're like into knowing the history of the different worlds and stuff. There's a lot of, like I said, a lot of it is what was in the first book, but then just updated 25, 30 years. But it's got all the people of note, things like that. Hey, no problem. If you guys do want more, we can always do another one with Dan, preferably, and can do a complete side-by-side comparison or go into the history and stuff. Dan had some things he had to take care of. I don't know how much he wants spoken on air, so I'm going to respect that privacy. If he wants to say more, he can tell you guys next week. But yeah, so that is a base overview of Tal'dorei Reborn. I enjoy it. I enjoy source books like this. They give you a little bit of history gazetteer and then give you some mechanics to go with it. Definitely worth it in my opinion. It's got some fun subclasses that we talked about and stuff. I can't wait to incorporate them into our games here. But next week we'll be back talking about episode 12 of Critical Role, and we'll see what's going on with that. We'll see you guys later. Have a great night.